Mace need to go on a diet. He need to get his life together. He need to go to the doctor and get a physical. He looked terrible, bad body, back ass. He look big around the neck, waist look crazy. I'm body shaming this. You heard? He need to go get his shit together, get on the treadmill, do some push-ups, do something. You heard? Especially for playing with me.
You are a guardian angel and designer. Did you get what the is you talking about, man? You are not from Harlem. Why do you keep thinking that you are from Harlem, bro? You are not from Harlem. I did not grow up with you, man. Do you remember how we met? Pause. Not met, how you got cool with us? Basically, you heard our freestyles. And you came up to me one day when I was chilling in front of the house. You said, yo, man, I heard the freestyles. Y'all killing shit. More freestyles come out. Y'all heard the new shit you did. Children of the Corn, 12-minute freestyle. Mase, Cameron Cardan, DJ Clue. Google Bloodshed and Cameron, Children of the Corn, freestyle. Are you at any of these places? No, you was not there, man. You wasn't there.
I was the CEO of Diplomats. I made Diplomats with him. I was with him for every bit of his journey. I held him down. I took that position of holding him down.
Man, Harlem just got spicy. The streets and the internet are both buzzing because this new moment right here, it's pure chaos. Mase and Betha, aka Mase, and Cameron just flamed Jim Jones live on their show It Is What It Is, and people are calling it the coldest public roast of the year. It all kicked off after Jim decided to throw some slick shade in a recent interview, claiming that Mase and Cam weren't really doing numbers anymore, that they supposedly fell off years ago.
This shit ain't no game. They can't play with me too much. I give them the floor to do that because that serves me no purpose. I got too much to worry about, too much to do. They know what I've done. And dance around it all they want and shit like that, joking, but they know if I get upset, it's gonna be a real problem.
Get out of here.
That line right there, it lit the match, but here's the thing. If you know Mase and Cam, you already know they don't play about respect, especially when it comes from one of their own from Harlem. That's a brotherhood built on ego, history, and legacy, and Jim's words cut deep. So instead of brushing it off, they decided to use their own stage to clap back, loud and clear. And trust me, they didn't hold a thing back.
Every nigga that put hands on you or you get to altercation, you cool with them. You tried to chase French Montana out the game, that ain't work out. Y'all got cool. So cool that you go to his video shoot, pardon me, not his video shoot, his movie. You're sitting in the crowd watching the premiere and they dissing you in the movie. You in the movie getting dissing, you gotta eat it, just sitting in the crowd. Nah, they dissing you in the movie that you went to go see, bro. Every nigga that do something to put pressure on you, you sit there and work it out. But when they got a little genuine heart for you and all that, cool, that's the pattern. If they don't put hands on you, then you can keep going on and on and on. But the niggas who do this, you cool with, and then the niggas who try to handle it sophisticatedly, you keep going on and on like niggas give a f about all that shit, bro. Niggas don't care about none of that shit, man. Niggas don't care a little bit, man. What I'll finish with is this, man. I'm never here to downplay your character. As much as you try to degrade my character,
The clip starts all smooth with Cameron cracking jokes in that playful tone and Mase laughing in his chill preacher-style voice. Everything was cool until Jim's name came up. The whole vibe switched instantly. The laughter stopped, the crowd leaned in, and Cam leaned right into that mic with a look that said he was about to unload years of Harlem tension. Yo, Cam said, his voice cutting through the room. Jim been talking reckless lately, right? Mase just smirked and dropped that slick line. Yeah, I heard he forgot who he learned this Harlem talk from.
For years and push me under the bus and say, I ain't start this and I ain't do that, and you started Pink and you made the Diplomats, which is just... Do you ever hear me talk about when you ran on me when BMF pulled up? When you ran in the hotel, they chased you to the beach. They chased you to the beach, you was in the sand. You was getting wet from the water, from the ocean. I don't pump that. I don't pump all that shit because I ain't trying to make the great your character. You know why? Because the revolution was televised. That's why I'm here. That's why God worked like that. That's why me and Murder is here. The revolution was televised. Because you talking about stop tricking out their freedom, bro. This is going to be the last time I address this. Whatever you got to say after this, good luck. I wish you luck. I got other shit to do. This is not on my motherfucking place. Believe what you want to believe because I got other things to do. You feel me, Murder?
The audience went crazy. The energy exploded. You could feel it through the screen. Then Mase really turned up. He said Jim been out here trying to rewrite Harlem history, acting like he built something that was already thriving long before he even showed up. When I was on tour with Biggie, Mase said, Jim was still trying to get on the guest list. The crowd lost it. People were screaming, laughing, clapping, pure chaos. Cam jumped right in after that, clowning Jim for doing too much to stay relevant, and that's when things really got personal. Cam wasn't done. He said it's wild how every few years Jim pops up with a new personality, like some kind of Instagram influencer trying to find a niche. One year he's a rapper, the next he's suddenly a podcaster, then he's out here talking like a real estate mogul. Cam laughed and said, bro, pick a lane already. The crowd went crazy. Even the camera crew couldn't hold it together. You can literally see one of them shaking, trying not to laugh.
I ain't want to snap one of them nose, but yeah, I'm good.
Here goes some popcorn stacks.
Thanks.
And the internet, they had a field day. Fans started flooding the comments and reposts with quotes like, Mase and Cam bodied him without even cussing. They turned the roast into memes within minutes. But this wasn't just about jokes, it got real personal fast. Mase leaned forward, dropped his smile, and hit Jim where it hurt. He said, Jim been bitter ever since Dipset fell apart, blaming everybody but himself. The whole room froze for a second. Then Mase reminded everybody that Jim was never really the front man. That spot always belonged to Cameron. He said no matter how many singles Jim dropped, how many designer fits he rocked, or how flashy his lifestyle looked online, he could never take Cam's place. Cam gave Mase that knowing look, that say less type of glance. And that's when Mase finished it off. And now he mad we doing it again, this time without him. Boom! That's the line that shook Harlem. Because it's true. Since Mase and Cam linked back up for It Is What It Is, they've been unstoppable. Viral clips, celebrity guests, massive views. They flipped the whole talk show game upside down. Meanwhile, Jim's been on the sidelines throwing shade from afar. So when Mase and Cam fired back, it didn't just feel like payback, it felt like Harlem's version of poetic justice. Two OGs reminding the world who really built the foundation everyone else still standing on. The internet exploded the second that episode dropped. It wasn't just a few comments, it was a full-blown Harlem history lesson playing out in real time. Fans flooded the timeline, calling it the roast of the decade and saying Jim Jones just got humbled in 4K. One fan wrote, Jim been talking too much, he forgot who raised him.
Mase taught me how to rap, and Cam always made sure I was on every single album he had. He was like, boy, once you figure out how to rap the same way you act in these streets, it's gonna work for you. Just keep going. And that's all so I always gotta give credit to where credit is due and shit like that. It would be no Jim Jones.
Another joked, Cam and Mase just dragged him straight back to 2002. The reactions were nonstop, pure digital chaos. Clips started spreading like wildfire. Every blog, every gossip page, every fan account had their own edit running on loop. Even celebrity blogs jumped in, reposting snippets and turning it into a trending topic overnight. It wasn't just a moment, it became a movement across social media. And of course, Jim saw it too. You could tell it got under his skin because later that night, he hopped on Instagram Live trying to clap back. He started off calm, but couldn't hide that tension bubbling underneath. He said, I don't got no beef with them dudes. They just old heads mad because they not outside no more. But his tone, it didn't match his words. You could see it in his eyes. He was tight. Fans caught it instantly, saying he looked frustrated and kept repeating himself, trying way too hard to sound unbothered when it was obvious he was heated. One comment summed it up perfectly. You can't out-talk Cam and Mase. They do this for a living, and that's facts. These two built their careers on slick talk and punchlines. Jim was trying to fight wordplay masters with street logic, and it just didn't land. But what's crazy is this tension didn't come out of nowhere. It's been brewing for decades. Their history goes way back to the 90s when Harlem was the spot for raw talent. Mase and Cam came up together under Big L's crew, Children of the Corn, before Mase signed with Diddy and blew up under Bad Boy. Then Jim linked up with Cam later to form the legendary Dipset, and for a while, it was magic. They made hits, toured the world, and put Harlem right back in the spotlight. But fame, money, and pride, they always find a way to mess things up. Over time, that brotherhood turned into competition, and that competition turned cold. What once looked like family slowly turned into a silent war.
What was your reaction when Cameron brought up all these old stories and everything about you?
I laugh, man. I got this thing, man. People laugh at the lies, but the truth always hurt. You know, lies are more entertaining. You heard? You get to laugh, you get the joke, but the truth is a serious thing, no matter how you look at it. The truth is what the truth is.
You know, the internet gets kind of crazy with the lies. The lies be
can't-
going crazy on the
I
internet.
mean,
man.
well, the
They say,
lies start from a narrative, and the narrative starts from a person, and you just got to look at it like that. But I've never been one in my life to care about clearing up no rumors. Like that just takes time out my day from making money. I know who I am. I'm very comfortable in my skin. I stand 10 toes down on everything I believe in. I don't change my pivot, and everybody knows that. I mean, as you can see, I would not be here if I did anything else but be me.
And now, decades later, it's all spilling out in public again. After the Dipset era started crumbling, everyone went their own way, and the paths couldn't have looked more different. Mase stepped back from the game for a while, found faith, and reinvented himself as a pastor before making his comeback. Cam stayed on his grind, flipping his hustle into business moves, staying relevant, and earning his title as a true Harlem legend. Meanwhile, Jim tried to keep the Dipset flame alive, but after that Verzoos battle against the LOX, everything changed. That night still haunts him. The internet torched Jim Jones after that performance. Fans said the energy was off, the stage presence was shaky, and the chemistry just wasn't there. The LOX came in polished, confident, and commanding the crowd like pros, while Dipset looked scattered, and Jim, unfortunately, ended up being the punchline. The memes were brutal. The clips went viral for all the wrong reasons. So when Jim decided to come after Mase and Cam now, people could feel that this wasn't just random. It was old resentment boiling back to the surface. That Harlem pride runs deep, and once it's bruised, it never really heals. Mase knew exactly which buttons to press. He called Jim out right in front of the world for acting self-made while standing on somebody else's foundation. He said, "You can't call yourself the king of Harlem when you learned the game from the real ones." That line hit different. It echoed through the culture like a slap. Fans were quoting it everywhere, saying Mase wasn't lying one bit. Because if you know Harlem's hierarchy, you know Mase and Cam were already cemented in history when Jim was still figuring out his sound and his lane. The next morning, hip-hop blogs were flooded with headlines. Mase and Cam cook Jim Jones live on air. Some pages even called it career ending, saying there's no PR trick or damage control that could clean up a roast that vicious. And to be fair, Jim tried. He really did. He hopped back on Instagram, posting old Dipset throwback pictures, reminding people he was there from day one. He captioned them with pride, talking about loyalty, legacy, and brotherhood. But the internet, they weren't buying it. The comments turned savage. People started clowning him, saying he looked like the forgotten cousin in every photo. Every post turned into a meme, and every meme kept the roast alive even longer. At that point, it didn't even feel like a feud anymore, and it felt like Harlem history catching up to Jim in real time. Jim tried to play it cool after all the backlash, but the damage was already done. He started dropping subliminal captions on Instagram like, "Real ones know the truth," and "Some people talk, some people work." You could tell he was trying to sound mysterious, like he was above the drama, but Mase wasn't letting that slide. On the very next episode of It Is What It Is, Mase came in calm, collected, and sharp. No yelling, no emotion, just precision. He looked into the camera and said, "I see Jim trying to post old pictures now. Bro, pictures don't equal presence." The crowd erupted. Cameron was laughing so hard he had to mute his mic. He couldn't even breathe. Then Mase dropped another bomb. "You can't post your way back to relevance." And just when people thought he was done, Mase leaned forward and delivered the knockout line. "You can't win an argument with me. I'm the one who taught you how to rap pretty and talk slick. Remember that?" Boom! That line hit the internet like lightning. Within minutes, Twitter went wild. People were quoting it, remixing it, turning it into GIFs. That became an instant Harlem classic. Cam couldn't resist jumping in either. He said, "Jim always act like he discovered himself, but we gave him the glow up, we gave him the wave, we even gave him the confidence. Then he turned around and acted like we the ones chasing him." The crowd went crazy. It was one of those moments where fans felt like the truth finally got spoken. No sugarcoating, no fake peace talk, just Harlem pride in its rawest form. And the message was loud and clear. Jim was the target, and the city was watching every second of it unfold. Even people who usually stayed out of the drama started chiming in. Rappers, influencers, and even comedians began reposting clips from the show, calling it the most respectful destruction ever. It wasn't just entertainment anymore. It was history repeating itself, with Mase and Cam reclaiming the crown that Harlem always knew was theirs. You could tell Mase and Cam weren't doing this out of hate. It wasn't some petty back and forth. This was about reminding everyone who the real cornerstones of Harlem culture are, the ones who built the style, the sound, and the legacy that everyone still copies to this day. But what really cut deep for Jim wasn't even their words, it was the power behind them. Mase and Cam have the platform, the influence, and that natural Harlem charisma. Every time they talk, the whole culture listens. Every clip they drop goes viral in seconds. Meanwhile, every time Jim posts, it feels desperate, like he's begging the internet to care again. Fans notice that too, saying the Harlem hierarchy already shifted, and Jim's now sitting at the bottom of that ladder. By the end of that week, the memes were everywhere. People were calling it Jim Jones versus the podcasters and saying Mase just baptized Jim with jokes. It was ruthless. Some fans even joked that Jim should go back to the studio because clearly the internet wasn't his lane anymore. And to make matters worse, he actually tried. A few days later, Jim dropped a freestyle, his way of proving he still had it. But the views, they flopped hard. The comments were brutal. People saying, you can't freestyle your way out of humiliation, bro. Especially not when your name's trending for all the wrong reasons. Now that the dust has finally settled, one thing's crystal clear. Mase and Cam won this round with style. They didn't scream, they didn't threaten, they didn't even have to get messy. They used humor, facts, and that signature Harlem finesse to dismantle Jim Jones's ego in real time. And honestly, fans said it best. That wasn't a beef, that was a lesson. They buried him with smiles, no shouting, no drama, just pure Harlem smoothness. Even people outside the hip-hop world tuned in just to witness how two OGs could roast a fellow Harlem vet so effortlessly. It felt like a masterclass in controlled confidence, the kind of takedown that leaves no room for a comeback. But underneath all the jokes, there was a deeper message. This wasn't about clout, this was about legacy. Mase and Cam spent years building Harlem's reputation, putting the city on the map with their sound, their fashion, and their attitude. Meanwhile, Jim spent years chasing trends, trying to stay relevant instead of building something that lasts. And that's exactly why fans said this hit so hard, because it wasn't just a clapback, it was a reality check. In Harlem, respect isn't bought, it's earned. And when your own people start saying you fell off, that's a wound that doesn't heal easy. The streets talk, and when the voices come from your own block, it cuts the deepest. Mase summed it up perfectly during the show's closing segment when he said, I don't hate Jim, I just hate revisionists. If you was there, tell the truth. If you wasn't, stop lying like you built the building. We already opened that line, legendary. It hit the culture like a sermon, truth delivered with class. Even Cam nodded in agreement and said, that's why we legends. We don't need no gimmicks. That's Harlem pride, loud without yelling, confident without trying too hard. Meanwhile, Jim's been silent ever since. No new lives, no interviews, no diss tracks, nothing, just radio silence. Some people think he's regrouping. Others say he finally realized there's no comeback from this one. Because how do you respond when the same people who helped make you remind the world they made you? At the end of the day, this whole situation exposed the line between icons and imitators. Mase and Cam built legacies that stood the test of time, solid, unshakable, and rooted in Harlem pride. Jim, he built moments, flashes of fame that came and went like trends on a timeline, and that's the difference. It Is What It Is didn't just entertain the culture, it proved that Mase and Cam still run the conversation. They didn't need a beat, a hook, or a diss track, just a mic, a laugh, and the truth. So yeah, Jim Jones might try to act unbothered, but Harlem saw what went down. The internet saw it too. Every clip, every meme, every quote spread like wildfire. Mase and Cam didn't just drag him, they reset the whole hierarchy. Once you get humbled like that on camera by your own people on their platform, there's no PR move, no freestyle, no flashy post that can bring your swagger back. Because when Harlem legends speak, the culture listens, even the ones pretending they don't. And that right there, that's the real lesson. Legacy outlasts noise every single time. If you made it this far, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Jim can bounce back from this, or is it game over for good? Let's talk about it, and I'll catch you in the next one.